Myself, why are we doing international codes? Is the United States like Germany? Is it like France? Is it like Japan? Do we need to have a code that maps to what they're doing? When I see the insulation codes and what the electric codes are from a fault interrupt circuit concept and so forth, I often question, why are we doing this in the United States? What is the reason for doing that? And I guess an ancillary question is that does it do harm? Yes, and we'll talk about that. But these things all get then foisted into our federal government. The federal government, of course, pushes that downstream. If you're a planner, you go to school to be a planner. In the school, you get taught how planning works. You get taught all these concepts, methodologies. This is good, this is bad. You're a young school kid, what do you know? So you absorb it, you don't question it. And the next thing you know, you're out in the field and you're doing work and you're trying to implement what you were educated to do, which came from the federal government, which came from the international community. And sometimes you weren't taught the Constitution, and so applying that on a constitutional basis doesn't line up. And then you've got somebody like us coming to you and saying, wait a minute, what about Agenda 21? Well, I don't know what that is. So just keep that in mind. This all gets kind of pushed downstream. We get NOACA pushing stuff, and NCC pushing stuff. Now we've got smart meters coming out. We have the EPA, we have the Department of Transportation, we have HUD, we have the Agriculture Department, department after department after department, Regional Prosperity Initiative, ICLEI. We've got all the park organizations.
What's your smart meters? What is that?
Oh, we'll be talking about that.
I heard about this.
So,
Is that a general term?
no. There is a concept. We have this thing called the digital grid, the smart grid. That's an international program. I actually have a couple slides on it, so we're going to get to it. We have a thing called the smart grid. The smart grid is being sold as a way to conserve energy, to effectively save energy. Now, I don't know how many of you, I'm going to take a slight tangent here, I don't know how many of you have any energy in your pocket. So if you don't use electricity, can you put it in your pocket? Can you put it in your wallet? Can you put it in a glass bottle? Can you put it in a... No, you don't save energy. The next time somebody says to you, we're going to save energy, ask them where they put it. Where are they saving? Are they saving it in the bank? They put it in your gas can? You can't save energy. You can save the fuel source that produces the energy, but you're not saving energy. And what right do they have to say, if I'm a consumer and I want and I have all the money I've got in the world to buy a product, which is energy, and I want to go to First Energy and say, you just sell me energy, tell me how much it's going to cost, I'll buy all you got. Well, I shouldn't have the right to do that. Who should say that it's right as long as we're consuming energy, you know, we're as in a free enterprise basis, why we shouldn't be able to consume all the energy we want to make? Who is it that's judging what's the right amount to produce? And so we'll get into that. There's a whole smart meter conversation, but the smart meter is a meter that they want to put in your home. First Energy is doing that in Geauga County right now. You have the opportunity to opt out of it. The smart meter is a meter that meters your power usage. It is actually able to monitor down to an individual device in your home. So it knows when you've got your dishwasher running, your refrigerator is running, when your clothes washer is running, when your clothes dryer is washing, so on and so forth. If you go to the PUCO website, they will explain the whole concept of the smart grid and the smart meter, and even say to you, you know, in the future, what we want to be able to do is to help you to save energy by controlling your appliances for you. And so, because, you know, you're not really smart enough to know how much energy you want to consume, and it's really not good for the United States and the world because you're consuming too much energy. And so, we're going to help you with that. And I've got some slides that kind of underline that. Out of the housing communities, this came out of the HUD website, and keep in mind that we're going to improve regional housing equity. Can anybody tell me what is equitable housing? Can anybody tell me what is fair housing?
What I can afford.
Well, we're going to be classed.
If you ask HUD the question, because they're out promoting fair housing, and say, HUD, what is fair housing? They really can't define the term. I mean, it is a subjective term, what's fair. What's fair is what you can afford to buy.
That's right.
What you're told to buy.
And so there's a whole set of terminology that's made to embarrass you to say, you know, don't you want to be fair? Don't you want to be equitable? Don't you?
No.
No, not particularly. What does that mean, equitable? And we want to promote the growth of healthy and safe and walkable region. We want to promote a walkable region. Healthy and safe too. You know, in the past, we've not been very healthy. There were grizzly bears wandering around because we shot all them, and so we don't have to worry about them anymore. And, all right. This came out of, this is just, I'm going to pick on NOACA and I'm going to pick on NUSCC today because they're just so much fun and they're implementing so much of this nonsense, I'm just going to pick on them. So, this is an example, one organization out of many, that is implementing the concepts out of Agenda 21. How do I know that? What did I tell you NOACA did earlier? NOACA, in simple terms, is supposed to take care of roads and bridges. Their primary responsibility is to ensure a regional plan to ensure we've got the proper balance of interstate, that they're taken care of, that we've got bridges that aren't falling down, all that kind of stuff. So do me a favor and read that #1 goal. And tell me how that fits with an organization who sets a goal who's supposed to take care of roads and bridges. The #1 goal is to advance the region's economic competitiveness based on a sustainable development. Have you heard the term sustainable before? Sustainable development approach integrating environment, social equity, and economic perspectives. Do you see roads and bridges anywhere in that #1 goal? Does it say we are going to identify the worst roads and put those at the top of the list so we can fix those? Does it say we're going to identify any bridges that we're going to take care of before they fall down? No. Their #1 goal is to ensure social equity and sustainable development. Does that sound like an organization that you would, as a taxpayer, would want to support? No. I didn't think so. Now, in their document, their visioning document, they actually define what sustainable development is. Guess where they got their definition?
21.
Out of Our Common Future. Don't ever let NOACA tell you they are not implementing Agenda 21. Their definition out of their document, this is a pure definition right out of Our Common Future because it references the 3 E's. Sustainable development is going to be implemented by focusing on these 3 E's. Environment, equity, and economics. For an organization that is supposed to be taking care of our roads and our bridges and our environment, because that got added to their objectives by the federal government. I don't know why the #1 goal needs to be social equity. I object to that. I reject that. And I am somewhat vocal at telling them that. But I need help because I'm just a wacko at the table. If I don't have more people like you supporting me, then they marginalize me. Okay. NUSCC. This, another organization I love to pick on. Before they applied for a grant, they took $4.6 million of your dollars, HUD dollars, Sustainable Community Grant dollars. Before they took a dollar, just to apply for the grant, I have their whole grant application. But I pulled this out of their grant application because it was so much fun to read. It says, historic patterns of development have led to an equal distribution of community amenities or access to jobs have not led to an equal distribution of community amenities or access to jobs, education, neighborhood services, open space, transit, municipal programs. This has resulted in a disparity in health, income, food access, education, and employment options. Our regional planning effort, keep in mind this is NEOSC, Northeastern Ohio Sustainable Communities Consortium. Our regional planning effort will identify how best to deploy resources to address these inequities. What do they tell you they are going to do?
Make your money.
What they tell you on their website is we are going to listen to Northeastern Ohio residents, you, and we're going to create a master plan that creates vibrant, resilient Northeastern Ohio. Can anybody define vibrant for me? I've asked them that question. They haven't been able to define it. How about resilient? When are we going to be resilient? How soon do we get to resilient? How can you measure resilience?
When the Browns win the championship?
That could be. Well, I would say today that we are very resilient.
Right.
How many times do the Brands have to lose and we still show up?
I know.
I would say we are phenomenally resilient. We have always been resilient. Through World War I, through World War II, through all of the ups and downs, to the Kasich, or not the Kasich, but the Kucinich administration, where we